Hello and welcome to The Importance of Performance with Aiden Palmer, where I interview musicians and actors to truly understand the benefits of performance. Today's guest is a good friend of mine, a student at Renaissance Secondary School, Lauryn Grubb. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Well, to start off, can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you do music-wise, performing-wise?
So I haven't done a whole lot of music my whole life, but I have done taiko as of recently. I started that freshman year, and I've been doing it 2 times a year for each quarter, and I've been doing that since freshman year, so for quite a while.
Quite a while. Okay. Well, just kind of elaborate on what kind of sparked your interest a little bit in taiko.
I really liked the idea of taiko. I initially signed up for it just because it was like a Japanese culture class, and I am interested in Japanese culture. It's really interesting to me, especially like the religions and stuff, but that's a side topic. But the reason that I thought it was interesting was because I can't read sheet music, and I'm really bad with music, but I've always really wanted to play an instrument. I always wanted to play like cello, or my whole family played saxophone and clarinet, but I could never figure sheet music out. So taiko was really nice because it was strictly muscle memory. So it was something I could do without it being like too hard to learn.
Okay, and how exactly has like that changed your life at all?
Confidence. So much confidence, because performing is really hard for me. I have really bad stage fright, and having to be up on stage doing something that everyone can hear, everyone can see, being the center of attention like that, being perceived fully is really hard. So having a reason that gets me out there, gets me up on the stage, gave me so much confidence. The first time I performed, I cried like 3 separate times before I actually got to the stage. And then I cried after as well. The second time I did a major big performance, I was just pretty shaky, but that was about it. I think I almost cried, but I didn't quite. And then most recent one, I was barely shaky. That was it. And I was pretty calm. And then
so over time, it's really given you confidence on the stage. But what about like confidence on when talking to people? Does it affect that at all?
Yeah, I would say it did. I was very shy and reserved, and I still would say I fairly am, but I'm way better at like actually sitting down and doing things, or like presenting. When it comes to like presenting for projects or having like oral performances, I don't have to worry so much about like the way that I'm being perceived and stuff, because I'm more used to it now. It was almost like an exposure therapy, honestly. So
okay, here, let me throw this at you really quick. How often do you see others perform?
All the time. I love concerts. I go to concerts. I think I did the math, and on average about like once every other month I go to a concert. Just some underground band that I can afford to see, like $30 tickets. Those ones are my favorites. So.
Okay. So does the price affect who you get to see?
A little bit. Because like I would love to see people like Depeche Mode or Hatsune Miku or Saint Motel or Lord Huron, or those big popular bands that I really like. But the more popular they get, the more expensive they get. So a lot of the time, the concerts I end up seeing are my underground artists that no one's ever heard of, like Palace or Oliver Hazard. Those are some of my underground ones.
So it kind of, in a way, limits the amount of performances that you can see, or like who you see it from, based on just like prices.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I do usually still go, but they have to be more thought out. It's not just like, hey, there's a concert around the corner, $30, let's go. That's usually how they go about.
Do you enjoy going to see those, as you say, underground bands? Like, so you said you get to see them a lot, and it's just kind of a quick, oh, let me go check this out.
Yeah, it's also a way more like intimate experience, because I've met a lot of the people in these underground bands. Like Saint Motel, they're one of my favorites. They only have, I think, 4 or 5 million monthly listeners, which isn't a whole lot, but that's still a lot of people. And I got to meet them. Nathaniel Riley is another one that I like. He only has like 1,000 monthly listeners, I think. I got to meet him, and have a really long conversation with him and his music and stuff. Same with Briscoe, the Crow Boys, and a few other bands that I've met. So.
Wow. Yeah. And so those are kind of like just connections you've made through seeing them, and not just I guess something I've been focused on a lot is the connections you make through actually performing, but it's also very important to see others perform. It's not just about being a performer, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Concerts are some of my favorite things because it also helped me get a lot closer to some of my friends. Like when you, Sage and Calvin all went up to see Saint Motel. That was an amazing experience also because I got to cry my heart out to some of my favorite songs, and I had to have my friends with me, and they got to see me in like a vulnerable way.
Yeah.
See me in a way, in a new light, I guess, which was really nice for a lot of our friendships.
And it really just, for me personally, now that you mentioned that, it made me feel like I was closer to you guys. Sadly, I had to leave early that night. I was in some pain, but that was a really good concert. Absolutely. Well, on another topic, let's see here. How often do you actually perform in front of others? Is it just in Taiko, or are there other kinds of performing?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. The only thing I do is Taiko, so that's twice a year, depending on if we have like an extra concert like we did at the Starlighting last year.
Yeah.
So just that for the most part, unless you want to count like presentation performances for school, they're always smaller and more casual to me. When I actually have to be like up on stage in front of a mass amount of people, that's when my nerves kick in.
Well, what is the definition of performance to you?
To me, I would say just like, not a literal definition, but getting up on stage in front of people, more so being on a stage. That part.
Okay. So kind of putting yourself up there.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that it's also really just kind of getting yourself out there more so instead of just on stage? Or is it purposefully like mainly on stage?
Because I mean, performance can also be something like the way you present yourself in like an interview or something, or it can be something more like the way you want someone to perceive you, or if you're going to be like having a school presentation. Like those are all still forms of like performance in a way. But when I think of performance, I would think either like someone singing or someone, like a concert or something like that is usually how I would think about it.
Okay, so from your perspective, it's more so, music and maybe acting as well. Would you say that about art at all? As in, sorry, let me clarify. Painting, visual arts.
Honestly, I think like if you're actively doing something, because like just putting your art on display, that's just a display. That's like just showing it off.
It's not necessarily performance.
You're performing. Yeah. So I feel like performing is more of an action.
Okay.
You have to be like physically there.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Well, let's see. After everything we've talked about, what do you think is the most important thing about performance, in your words?
From my experience, the most important part of it was the confidence and the connections that I got, because also through Taiko class, not only like the concerts that me and you went to, but I've also got a lot closer to the people in like Taiko. Think me and Sage, for example, we both have the big drum that we both have to play together, having to be in sync, playing the exact same times. There's a lot that goes into that. That's not just like, oh, hey, 1, 2, 3,
it's
go.
It's like collaboration. Yeah. It's not just like separate parts or like individuals.
Same with Ryder. He's been really helpful in Taiko. He's been really sweet. But also like the struggling with the people in Taiko and stuff is also something that's really helpful, even if not particularly a huge fan of struggling in front of people, but the fact that it does still happen and they're supportive and people being around you, and when you don't want to be and when you're vulnerable and stuff, that's when I feel like connections usually happen the most. But
so you think through performance it kind of brings people together?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And everyone, I hope to see you on the next episode of The Importance of Performance. Have a great day.